Hello and namaste everyone. Thank you very much for tuning into our series called 8 Steps to Enlightenment with Yoga. I hope you have been tuning into the previous episodes and understanding not only the very essence of enlightenment but making progress step by step towards the goal of enlightenment. Again, a gentle reminder that enlightenment is not a state that you arrive at, but it is a journey. In this process, you will start to see changes at many levels of your existence, not only at a physical, mental, emotional level, but also how you carry yourself in this world, your relationships, your lifestyle, your food habits, your habits in your day-to-day life, your interactions, your working style, your sleeping style, your bathing style, every aspect gets influenced, because in this process of enlightenment, we are maximizing or we are heightening the quality of mind, which is called awareness. Simple, pure awareness, that awareness that we all carry in our day-to-day life, but that awareness is unfortunately filled and colored and coated and conditioned by experiences and perspectives, opinions, judgments that we go through on a moment-to-moment basis. That awareness, when it is clean and purified, then you can start to see things clearly. In that clarity, you will be able to see yourself differently and the world around you differently. So, in this process, you will have aha moments, the moments of sudden realization, and also moments where you will laugh at yourself because the way you have perceived or you have seen the world has changed suddenly. You will be looking back at your own life, your own self, and you will be surprised how you had made some of those decisions, how you have perceived certain things, certain people, and you will laugh at it directly because you are the witness in this journey. You don't need somebody else. In fact, nobody else from outside can tell whether you're enlightened or not, because I know people who are enlightened. I've been with an ancient sage like Sunita Amma, who's an enlightened being, and when she walks out into the world, nobody would even be like saying, oh, she's probably an enlightened person, because she doesn't show off anything special. She doesn't have any pomp and show around her. She is a very simple and humble human being. But when you interact with such people for a certain amount of time and also practice meditation in their presence, you will start to see how powerful they are. They don't exhibit the physical power, they don't exhibit the mental power, they don't exhibit any power in the name of fame or money or power, but their power comes from inner being. Their power comes from the power of the vibrations that they have elevated to, and that vibration that is elevated starts to impact people around. And I'm sure you have come across people like that in your life, who are living life at that purest of the pure vibration, which directly impacts us not only at a physical, mental level, but also at a deeper level of awakening. So enlightenment is a process of awakening that inner being that has been sleeping in the deep ignorance, the ignorance that is caused by the vices of excess desire, anger, jealousy, greed, false ego, pride and delusion, creating that cloud, and because of which you are not able to see that beautiful light emanating from within. And as you progress in this journey, you will start to reveal that inner light, and that process, that journey is enlightenment. Now, with that introduction, let's look back very quickly what we have covered so far. As we have discussed, enlightenment is a process of understanding your life. And when we say life, life consists of many dimensions. The dimensions of the physical, the dimensions of the mental, the energy, the life force, the breathing, the emotional aspects, the habits, the personality. So we have been working on each of those in each episode. We started with how do we reshape our personality by following certain rules and regulations using the principles of Yama and Niyama from the great ancient Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And then we have moved on to working on the body, stabilizing the broad body, using body as a tool to use that in the path of enlightenment. And then we have started to work on the life force, which is prana. So the next step is the pranayama, where we are using the breath to regulate that prana, the life force. And we have understood how we can regulate it on a moment-to-moment basis when you start to become aware of your breath, and then that breath helps you to go deeper and deeper. In fact, the last thing we talked about, or the last aspect that in fact sage Patanjali talks about when it comes to pranayama is pranayama ultimately reveals that inner light, inner effulgence by clearing that cloud, and it makes the mind one-pointed, and that one-pointed mind is very, very essential for the next step, which is called pratyahara. In very simple words, I call it the regulation of senses. We have regulated the body, we have regulated the personality, we have regulated the prana, the life force. Now we are ready to regulate the senses. Now, why do we need to regulate the senses? We are given senses for a reason, right? As a part of evolution, we have these 5 senses that we use on a day-to-day basis. The sense of sight, the smell, sound, touch, and taste. These are the senses without which I don't think we'll be able to perform our day-to-day duties normally. So there is a reason why we have been bestowed with these senses. But then why do we need to regulate these senses? Well, there is of course a very good reason why nature has gifted us with these senses. They are analogous to the sensors. In the modern world, we are using sensors pretty much for everything these days, right? And I think the cars have become more and more advanced because of usage of these sensors. Some of these cars that we are seeing in the modern world are actually able to help you when you are driving. You don't have to make much effort. In fact, we are also talking about driverless cars. How do you think these driverless cars function? The driverless cars function because of the sensors that are set up around the car, and they know everything that is happening around. They're able to perceive that information, they're able to transmit that information, and then the sensors are able to make some decisions, and then that decision making helps in making sure that we do not get into an accident. Even with the regular cars which do not have a driver, we already have a lot of sensors which actually help us to drive very safely. Recently I've been driving one of the modern cars, and I was surprised that when you're driving in a certain lane, even if you are not driving exactly in that lane and making a little bit shift, immediately there is actually a buzz in your steering wheel. And when there is a car that is passing by you, there are sensors that are blinking on your mirror on the sides. And then of course there are sensors on the car if you are getting too close to another car in front of you. Again, all these things to help prevent accidents so that we do not cause damage to the car and of course ourselves in this process. Now that is exactly the reason why we have senses. The senses that evolution or the nature has gifted us is for that same reason, to be able to navigate this life with safety, to be able to observe, to be able to use these senses and utilize that information that is coming from the material world, so that we don't make accidents, we don't cause accidents and destroy our life. But unfortunately, my dear friends, in the today's world, we all know we are not using our senses like sensors, but we are using senses as a means of sensual pleasures. We derive pleasures when we use those senses excessively. A simple example is the sense of taste. Now, the sense of taste was provided to us to be able to differentiate the food. The food, like, when you are living obviously in the wild, you need to be able to taste what is the right thing. There are so many plants, there are so many things out there, herbs that, as people living in those wildest areas used to be using those sense of taste for. Similarly, the sense of sound, you need to be aware of any wild creatures that are living in the surroundings, so you need to be able to perceive that. So we used the sense of sound for that. Same thing, the sense of sight, to make sure that we don't have threat from the world outside. So these senses were exactly acting like sensors when we were living out there in the wild. Now we are of course not living in the wild, we are living in our comfort and luxury of our homes, but there is no use for that senses that much. I am sure that's probably one of the reasons we are abusing our senses. We are abusing the same taste to eat all kinds of junk food. The same taste, when gets addicted to the junk food, we go binging upon the same item over and over again. Simple thing, your chocolate or your tiramisu cake, your chocolate cake, or your favorite biryani, or if your favorite pasta or cheese or pizza, whatever that is. We are all, of course, have gone through those moments where we feel tempted by the food outside, and then we indulge in that food, and of course we know the consequences over a period of time. Any of these foods that causes excess sensual pleasure to the taste will eventually cause disease, will eventually lead to things like obesity, hypertension, excessive salt, excessive fat, excessive calories leads to obesity. Of course, also eventually leads to metabolic disorders like diabetes. And we also know if you add stress to this food, then it also leads to a lot of other illnesses that we are seeing in the world today. So a simple example of taste could really, you could see how it can destroy and damage our life in a very bad way. And now, of course, if you start to go deeper, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of sound, the sense of touch, I don't even have to go into the depth of helping you understand how we are abusing those senses instead of using them for the right things. In fact, ancient wisdom also gives an analogy of a chariot. We talked about a car, but those days they didn't have cars, so they don't know about cars, they don't know about sensors, but they have given a fantastic analogy of this chariot which is drawn by these 5 horses. The 5 horses that are in the front of the chariot, and then there is a charioteer holding those 5 horses with the reins of the horses, and then he is regulating the movement of the chariot. Similarly, these 5 horses are considered to be like our senses, the 5 senses that we have that are directing our life, that are moving forward, that are taking our life forward. But now imagine if those 5 senses are not regulated with the reins by the charioteer called the buddhi, or the intellect, or that mind which can make a decision of right or wrong, good or bad. The chariot is of course going to go in whichever direction it wants. Imagine one horse wants to go in one direction, another horse wants to go in another direction, and then the other one wants to not go at all. So you can only see the fate of that chariot eventually. So the senses need to be regulated by the mind. If the mind is stable, then it becomes easy to regulate those senses. If the charioteer is holding those reins of the senses properly and be alert and awake all the time, then he's able to regulate those senses, regulate those horses properly. Now, even if he takes off his mind or his attention away from those horses and gets distracted, then the senses, the horses can go whichever way they want. So it is very important to understand the role of mind in regulating those senses. And that is why the 8 steps to enlightenment, you see that pranayama, the regulation of breath, is so important before pratyahara. There is a reason why the pranayama, regulation of life force, comes first and then regulation of senses, because when you regulate the life force, the mind becomes one-pointed, and that one-pointed mind, it becomes easy to regulate those senses. Now imagine your mind is distracted and drawn in 100 directions, it's filled with all kinds of impulses, then your senses are never going to be in your control. They are also going to be very random, very distracted and very reactive. And if you see the world today, unfortunately, people are very reactive, very impulsive. That impulsiveness and reactiveness comes from a distracted mind, and the distracted mind obviously leads to the senses which become so impulsive, which become so reactive to the situations and circumstances in our life. I mean, and again, going back to the same example, you walk into a party or a dinner and then you have all kinds of food there, the senses immediately draw you to the most tastiest food, and most tastiest food obviously is filled with like sugar, fat, oil, salt, all the things that are not good for our body. So they are reactive and there is no regulation of mind, because mind is so distracted, mind is not stabilized, and because of that unstable mind, it leads to instability of senses, distracted senses, and those senses take away our, obviously, peace of mind eventually. Peace of mind, in a sense, not just the peace of mind, but makes the mind into pieces, which leads to lack of peace in our life. So that is the story of senses. So without regulating those senses, we cannot even move forward to the next steps. The next steps are concentration, which is dharana, and then comes the meditation part, which is dhyana, and then of course comes the samadhi part, which is absorption into that true inner self. So it is very important to regulate those senses. The nature of senses, of course, is to draw us outside. They are always wanting our attention to be taken away to the surroundings, and by doing that, our mind is also basically broken into many pieces and distracted. And I mean, I don't even have to talk about the distracted world that we live in today, starting with our own phones, our social medias, our technology that we are using, our addictions that we all have. All of these are outcomes of those senses which are not regulated, especially the addiction problem that we are seeing today, addiction to all kinds of things. Of course, people are addicted to social media, simple things. People are addicted to the devices. People are addicted to food. People are addicted to, even worse things like alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, all kinds of substances out there. And all of this is because of lack of that sense control. So when we are able to control or regulate those senses, then it becomes very easy for us to get away from addictions. In fact, I have seen in my 17 years of experience with Sukshma meditation, with ancient Sunita, many people who have come with problems of addiction, or even people who don't have like serious addiction problems, who did not know how to regulate the taste, for example, are able to shift very quickly and make those right choices without much effort. People try to follow these various diets, for example, today. Oh, I'm not going to eat sugar for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. I'm not going to eat these kinds of junk food anymore. But then I also know many of us fail to keep those promises, because the moment you are in an environment where there is all kinds of food, the senses immediately get attracted to those objects called food, and then they become one with that, and then they grab that, and then immediately we start to eat, and we forget our promises, all failed promises. The New Year resolutions, we know, we all say, oh, on the 1st of January I'm not gonna touch anything until then. Like, of course you are indulging in everything, and then you are saying, oh, I'm gonna stop doing this, and we know that only lasts for a few days or weeks, and people are again back to that same old routine and get stuck in that vicious circle. The reason people are getting stuck in that vicious circle and not able to break those patterns is because of that subconscious mind, which is filled with these patterns and conditioning that happened over a period of time. And in Sukshma meditation, as I mentioned earlier, when you are in the presence of an enlightened sage like Sunita Amma, the vibrations are so strong and powerful. When you practice meditation in the presence of such sages, the meditation practice becomes so efficient and so easy that that mind comes to that stillness. It comes to stillness effortlessly, and I've said this innumerable amount of times. Only and only when that mind comes to that stillness, the true meditation is happening. And when that true meditation happens, it automatically becomes easy when you go out into the world. And I've seen that in my own life in the last 17 years. Like my habits that I used to have, I did not have any bad habits, but even simple habits like having a cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee a day, and other food habits have just dropped away very effortlessly. I simply stopped having spicy food, not because I don't want to, but I didn't feel like having it anymore, because my mind is so stable. And I'm sure you would have noticed this in your day-to-day lives as well. When the mind is calm and happy, actually you don't feel that hunger. You don't have the cravings. Most of the cravings are because of the disturbance in the mind, because of some kind of gap in our emotional life. When there is that emotional trauma, emotional worry, emotional trouble, that is when we start to fill those gaps with the cravings that come from the senses. So when the mind is actually still and one-pointed and focused, you don't feel hungry. I'm sure there are many examples you can see in your own life when you're doing some kind of work and you're totally engrossed in it and you're focused. A lot of times we don't realize how many hours have passed. We don't realize that we haven't eaten for like 4 hours or 6 hours sometimes. And I've seen that with myself and many people, that we don't realize that we need to eat food because the mind is so one-pointed, so your senses are all regulated. Now that is just a very superficial example, but a meditative mind, there is another thing that happens. Not only that it is one-pointed, but it also is purified. When it is purified from those vices, when it is purified and cleared from those emotional gaps, emotional trauma, emotional distractions, emotional worries that people go through, then automatically mind comes to that pure stillness. In that pure stillness, it becomes effortless to regulate the senses. And people I have seen who have come to Sukshma meditation, they within first 2-3 days immediately they will be able to shift to very healthy food habits without even having to force them, because automatically your mind is rested, so they are able to see things clearly and are able to make those choices. So one of the biggest benefits of regulating the senses in a practical day-to-day life is you will be able to see things clearly because your senses are not distracted, your mind is not distracted, so you're not clouded by anything, you're able to see things very clearly. The other important outcome of sense regulation is, instead of reacting to circumstances and situations, now you are able to respond, taking time. There is no impulses that are pushing you. You are able to take time to respond to situations, the changing circumstances in environments. Even though there might be threatful scenarios around you, you are still able to respond to them. You know, if you look back of some of these amazing incidents from our ancient times, yogis and sages and saints, they used to be in the forest in the midst of wild animals, but yet never harmed by them, because they have regulated their senses so beautifully that they are actually able to connect with the energies of the animals, and the animals also don't feel threatened by them. And in that state of centeredness, groundness, calmness, that one-pointedness of mind, there is no threat from the animals to these people, or the threat to the animals. They also don't perceive any threat. In fact, it also reminds me of another very interesting analogy about senses from ancient wisdom. They talk, today we have these 5 senses that are trapping us into all these distractions and attractions leading to addictions. Now, if you look at some of these animals out there, myself being a veterinarian, I always get fascinated with the stories of animals. If you look at fish, it is addicted to the sense of taste. That is why when there is a bait with that nice smell, the food smell, and the taste, that fish gets attracted, and the moment it tries to go taste it, it gets trapped. Similarly, a honeybee, for example, is always searching for that nectar, right? And in that search for nectar, it is always trying to use that sense of smell, and then with the sense of smell, it goes into the flower and then gets trapped in that flower. Similarly, elephants are known to have weakness for the sense of touch, and the same sense of touch is used to trap the elephants. The same sense of sound is used to trap the deers, because they are very sensitive to or attracted to sound. So similarly, we see these flies which are in the night time. Sometimes you see all these insects that come and get attracted towards light. So they are basically attracted to the light using the sense of sight, and the same sense of sight is actually trapping them and killing them or destroying them. So if you look at each of these creatures out there, just because they are attracted, just because of one sense, just one sense organs, they unfortunately fell in trap, and then they lose their freedom. In the same way, if you look at our lives, we are not getting trapped just with one sense, but with the 5 senses. All our 5 senses are trapping us into that matrix, trapping us into all these bad lifestyles, and because of that, we are losing the freedom. We are getting imprisoned by these senses. So true enlightenment is to be able to liberate and become free from these senses. Freedom from the senses is true enlightenment. To be able to use those senses as tools in our day-to-day life, so that we can utilize that energy for greater things. One of the important outcomes of sense regulation is that we can conserve our energy, because when the senses are drawn outside, we are losing the energy, we are distracted, and with the distraction, the energy is actually lost from us. But when you close your eyes, simple example, if you close your eyes and sit down, which we are of course doing in the process of meditation, you will see that you will start to feel more energized, you will have more and more energy, and that more energy that is available can be used for a lot of good things in your life. So another big benefit from sense regulation is conserving that energy. I think this is very important, especially for the youth and also adults, but especially if you are able to start this training when they are at a younger age, it becomes easy and becomes part of the life as they make progress in their life. So the great sage Patanjali says, once you regulate these senses, then you have prepared your body, your mind, your life force and your senses for the next steps that we are going to talk in the next episode, which is dharana, which is concentration, which is next comes of course meditation, dhyana, and then samadhi. But sense withdrawal is, or regulation of senses is the most critical step. It's right there in the middle, it's the connecting factor. It is the most important element in the process, in the path towards enlightenment. Many people forget about that. Many people practice yoga, asanas, postures just for the physical exercise kind of benefit. But the true path of yoga, a true yogi, is aware of these senses and using these senses and regulating these senses properly on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. So, with that understanding of how to regulate our sensors or the senses, now we'll get into the practice and see how we can focus on regulating our senses. As always I say, bring that smile. A simple smile will easily bring that attention to you. The biggest problem today in the world is that we are not able to focus on ourselves. We focus on everything else outside because the senses are always drawing our attention to the outside world. But at least when you bring that smile and you become aware of that smile, you are able to look at yourself for a moment. You are able to bring attention to your physical presence, and then using that smile, we use breath, so that breath helps us to slowly draw our attention to ourselves. So we use this simple exercise called breathe and smile. We have done this practice of breathe and smile meditation in the past. We're going to continue to use that breath and smile. And you can use this breath and smile not only just during meditation, but when you are working, when you are cooking, when you are taking bath, even when you are sleeping. That level of awareness is what enlightenment is all about. Okay, so let's do some simple physical exercises which we always do. Just sit back, relax your shoulders. Bring that smile. Pay attention to your breath. When you close your eyes, the senses start to go inside. It's the simplest way to regulate your senses, because you are removing one of the biggest distraction, the sense of sight. So at least by shutting down that sense, you are able to limit the information that you are passing into your system. And then the other senses start to become alert. So now let's do some exercises. So just do simple stretching if you want, just simple stretches. Breathing in nicely. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. We can do a stretch to the side. Keep that smile. If you want to move towards the side, you can do that, stretching your back a little bit. Creating that movement. As you're moving, your attention is also moving, your concentration is moving to that side. You can do this by standing also. You can do your favorite asanas also, no problem. Whatever works for you, but some form of physical taming the body is important. That is why we do this. Not just hold your thumb like this, release any tension from back of your shoulders. Now just crush that fruit in front of you. Imagine you're crushing the fruit. Now just round your shoulders, front to back, and then back to front. Excellent. Now put your fingers on your shoulders, same thing. Just releasing any tension from your back of your shoulders. Clockwise and anti-clockwise, making those nice rounds. Always coming back to your breathing and smiling. This simple awareness helps you to regulate your senses. The goal of all these practices is to bring attention to yourself and slowly go inside. Because with senses we think there is everything, the outside is the world, but there is an inner world. The exploration of inner world is enlightenment. And we are using now these senses to go inside and say that there is a lot of amazing things that are happening inside as well. We think that there is so much of action and drama happening outside. Just go to a doctor, sit in a class of physiology or anatomy, you will understand so much of action happening inside, moment to moment. The biochemical reactions, the nervous system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, digestive system, there is action-packed movie happening inside. But we are also distracted with the action-packed movies outside. And what are they doing? They are destroying our life, destroying our mind, destroying our peace of mind. Whereas if you go watch the movie inside, you will see how much enjoyment you can get. We think that we get some pleasure outside and that pleasure eventually turns into pain. No pleasure continuously stays as pleasure, my dear friends. Every pleasure will have to become pain. It has to. That is the law of nature. A pleasure cannot exist permanently. There is a point, full stop for that pleasure at some point. I'm sure you can experience that from your own lives. Let's take the favorite chocolate cake or whatever cake you like. You keep eating that cake 10 bites, 20 bites, one full cake even if you eat. After that, you'll feel disgusted with that cake. You'll feel, oh my God, why did I eat that cake? I'm never going to eat that cake again. We go through those experiences. We make some bad choices and we reap the fruits of those bad choices. And then what happens? We regret, don't we? We go through so much of pain because of those bad choices. And those bad choices were made because of these senses. So, in this practice, in the path of enlightenment, we are showing another world to the senses. We are showing that inner world where there is bliss inside. It is beyond the pain and pleasures. This is the problem with humanity today. We think our joy and happiness can come only from the outer world, from relationships with the people, from relationship to the objects, material objects like cars, money, power, bungalows, shiny things, shiny objects. But all of those are only giving temporary pleasure through these senses. They cannot give permanent happiness. That permanent happiness which is beyond the opposites, beyond pain and pleasure, beyond the dualities is bliss. And that bliss is within. You cannot find the bliss in the objects, material objects out there. You cannot derive it from there. You can only derive pleasure and pain from outside. Bliss emanates from inside. It is the very nature of yourself. And ancient wisdom calls it Sat Chit Ananda. Bliss is our ultimate nature. And when you tap into that bliss, you will be able to go beyond the senses, beyond the pleasures that senses can provide. You are able to now use your same senses to tune within. Okay? So let's continue our journey into the enlightenment. Let's now do a couple of neck exercises. Rounding the neck, clockwise, anti-clockwise. Pay attention to how many rounds you are making. And now drawing the infinity sign with your neck. Clockwise, anti-clockwise. And now simple tapping. Again, it allows us to bring attention to your body. Chop, chop, chop. Punch, punch, punch. Chop, chop, chop. Punch, punch, punch. Rub, rub, rub. Moving that blood and lymph. Stabilizing your body, stabilizing your systems. Press your temples. Release any tension from your head. Press your forehead. Press the sides of your head. Press your chin. Ears. Release any tension from your forehead. And give yourself a nice hug now. Again, a simple exercise to draw your senses inside. Close your eyes. Bring all your attention towards your heart. And spread that smile into your heart. You have the power to create that bliss within by starting with self-love and self-compassion. Now give yourself a nice promise, taking out your name. I'll take my name and follow the promise. Suman, I love you. I respect you. I honor you. No matter what, I'll never let you down. I'll take care of you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is my promise to you, Suman. And now repeat that promise inside, in the silence. Just give that affirmation to that inner self, inner child. As you are drawn inside, you will start to experience that calmness, peace, serenity, purity. Enjoy that. You come back to your normal position whenever you're ready. See how we are preparing our senses to go inside. Now we'll do a couple of breathing exercises. Take a nice deep breath. That's blowing out all the stress. Now let's do 3 controlled exhalations. Close your right nostril. Now close your left nostril. All of these exercises are making your mind one-pointed. As you regulate your life force, the mind also gets regulated. Now let's do the munching the air balls exercise. So suck your air from the mouth. Now we'll do another exercise which is good for your emotional regulation. So this is called scrunch and smile. You're going beyond the dualities of love or liking and hating. Because we say I like this, but the next moment you say I hate this. And this is the problem with our emotions. We go through these dualities of pain and pleasure. Now you're training your senses to go beyond that and experience that inner bliss. So the simplest way to do that is crunch, breathe in, smile, breathe in, scrunch, exhale and smile, breathe in, scrunch, exhale and smile, breathe in, scrunch, exhale and smile. Okay, and the last breathing exercise is just one-sided breathing. Close your right nostril, close your eyes, keep that smile, breathe in from your left and breathe out from the left. Continue this. Slow, deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Follow the breath and keep that smile. You will start to notice your mind becoming one-pointed. Now close your left nostril with the ring finger. Use always right hand for this. Take a nice deep breath from your right nostril and then breathe out from your right nostril. Excellent. You will start to see that glow on your face. body is relaxed completely, your mind has become one-pointed. Now you're ready for your meditation. Dharana also happened. Dhyana is happening. Every week we are doing this already. Of course, in the next session we'll talk about Dharana and Dhyana more in a theoretical and practical way. But Dharana has happened already. My eyes are closing into meditation. So you can lie down comfortably. Cover yourself with a nice blanket. Cover your eyes with a small towel. Don't cover your nostrils, only your eyes. If you want to sit and do it, no problem. Just sit back, relax. Keep your back straight. And all I need from you is to keep that smile. And just take some deep inhalations and exhalations. Just subtle breathing. Enjoy that inner sounds of the breath, like the waves of the ocean. Going up and falling down. Each wave coming to the shore, going up and falling down, touching the shore and receding back into the sea. Same thing with our awareness. It's an ocean of awareness. If you go inside the ocean, there is that calm, quiet, peaceful silence. But on the surface of the ocean, there are all these waves, movement. On the surface of our awareness, there are the waves of thoughts, waves of experiences, waves of judgments, and the waves of these vices, emotions, creating the turbulence on the surface. Now we know, if we dive deep into that awareness, you will only experience silence. Beyond the waves of experiences and emotions. You are going deeper and deeper inside. You are becoming aware of the senses. The sense of sight. All that you can see now is that nothingness, emptiness. That is what is there inside you, me, everyone and every being and every object in this universe. It is that nothingness, the emptiness, which which is the foundation of our existence. That is the pure awareness. Without any turbulences, emotions and experiences, anxieties and worries, all are dropping off. You're only seeing that nothingness with your eyes. Your sense of sight is merging with that nothingness, going deeper and deeper into your heart. That nothingness is expanding beyond the limitations of this body, beyond the judgments of the mind. You are now becoming aware of the sense of sound. You hear my voice. You're becoming aware of any sounds. But you're slowly drawing your attention of sound to your inside. As you withdraw the sound into your heart, you may hear your heartbeat, the sound of your breath, the organs inside making any sounds. As you go deeper and deeper inside, there is the sound of silence. The sound of silence is empty, nothing. Enjoy that inner silence. Tap into it more and more. Between each breath, between each heartbeat, there is silence. Expanding that silence from inside to outside. The silence is engulfing you. You're becoming that silence. Becoming aware of the sense of smell, the smells of outside, the smell of the air, the scent of the air. Just observe. No need to judge. No need to analyze. All your attention is on your nose, drawing that smell, going inside with your breath. When the body is clean and the organs are clean inside, it emanates fragrance, subtle scent, which is natural to all of us. We don't need to wear any perfumes from outside. As long as the inside is clean, the body is clean, you can start to smell that fragrance from inside. Moving to the sense of taste. By this time, you would be having saliva oozing out of your mouth, flowing down your throat like nectar. Enjoy that saliva, which is tasteless but filled with bliss. Observe how the tastelessness feels. Nothing, empty. Every sense has the potential to become that nothingness, to experience that nothingness, emptiness, but yet full of energy. All your inner senses are getting purified. And drawn within. Let go of any distractions. Coming back to your heart. Going deeper and deeper inside. Moving to the sense of touch. What are you feeling on your skin now? The biggest sense organ of our body. The sense of touch. Covers our entire body. From top of the head to tip of the toes. Quick subtle check. From top to bottom, bottom to top. What is the skin feeling at this moment? Observe. No need to judge it or analyze it. Simple observation, awareness. Maybe you're not feeling anything. Maybe you've lost the sense of skin. Maybe you've become free from the barriers. That separate you from the world. Maybe you feel cold or heat, the dualities. Just observe. Whole body is relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. Your mind is purifying, becoming one-pointed. Your inner being is awakened. Simple awareness. Moment to moment to moment to moment awareness. Stay at your heart for the next few minutes. All your senses are drawn inside. Your mind has become one pointed. You're becoming one with your inner self. You're now slowly coming out of that inner journey. Starting to become aware of your senses. What are you seeing inside, around you with the closed eyes? Seeing that brilliant light from inside. You're hearing the sound of your heartbeat and maybe the sounds around you. You're smelling the inside and outside, the air, the breeze around you. You're tasting the bliss of your saliva oozing into your throat. You might be feeling cold all over your skin. No matter what the experiences are, you're simply aware of all the 5 senses. Enjoying that inner bliss and inner smiles. Every cell in your body is healing in that inner bliss. If you are in a lying down position, slowly turn to your right, move gently. If you are in a sitting position, just start to move your arms, shoulders, neck, head, just subtle movements. Slowly sit in your comfortable position if you're lying down. If you're sitting, just adjust yourself. Keep those smiles, please. All your attention is on your heart. Enjoying those smiles. Exploring the inner world of bliss. Warm up your palms, please. Put them on your closed eyes and experience that inner nothingness, but filled with that brilliant light. One more time. Feel the warmth of your palms. Come back to your normal position. Take a nice deep breath and let's chant Om 3 times. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I am a peaceful soul. I am a peaceful soul. I am a peaceful soul. You are carrying this inner fullness, inner bliss, inner joy, inner peace. Carrying that into all aspects of your life, but always coming back to the source within. You have known how to regulate your senses and conserve that energy. Enlightenment is bliss. Namaste. Thank you very much.